AIME is here to serve you another beautiful dish and a sales tip. And we've had this question for years. I actually used to ask this question all the time. And it's a question that mortgage brokers have been trying to figure out for what seems to be a decade. What would Todd Bitter do? And today we're gonna get the answer. Todd, how you doing, my friend?
Good to see you guys.
Yes, sir, thank you. Todd, what are we cooking today?
We're cooking enchiladas, which are like a beefy, cheesy enchilada, and these are kind of fixings and
So nice and easy,
nice and easy.
nice little snack,
Yeah,
tastes delicious.
yeah,
Can't go wrong with enchiladas.
you really can't. But I was probably this mythological creature in the business, because people are like, I don't believe that he's doing 30 loans a month or 100 million a year. And he literally doesn't have an LOA, he doesn't have a processor. He works off of a 15.6 inch, $499 Dell laptop. I thought it was fancy, I had a wireless mouse. And I was just an idiot that thought this is how you do it. And I just couldn't let go. I have control. I've learned to deal with it, but the older I've gotten, the more I've trusted people. If you want to do it my way, don't do it that way. Do it that way till you get to about 10 loans a month. Then hire somebody, because I would have made triple the amount of income I made if I just had given up some control. It's a simple meal that I cook about once a month. Makes about 3 or 4 nights of dinner for me and Evie, since it's just the two of us here. Too many loan officers get wrapped up with all the noise. You know, we recently had the announcement that FHFA is changing some things about some low down payment loans, you know? Today, you can't do anything about it. So why do you care? Make 2 extra calls a day to maybe replace that one that you lost. I think loan officers as a whole, especially the ones that are struggling right now, I bet you most of their struggles could go back to they focus too much on the outside noise. They're looking for reasons why they're not as successful.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're going, especially the ones that were successful in 20 and 21. They look at 20 and 21 and they're like, I closed, 150 loans those years, but now I'm only closing 35. And they're looking for excuses as to why, when the excuse is in the mirror. I mean, you just have to adjust.
Can you say that again? Can you say that again?
Yeah. The excuse is in the mirror. If you're not doing as much business today as you were a few years ago, granted, the market matters. I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but you control the sales activities you do.
Listen, I know the way Answer Your Damn Phone was built was just over time, and it was kind of gifted. The excuses in the mirror might be my favorite thing with you now, just to be upfront with you. That gave me goosebumps. AIME is here to serve you another beautiful dish and a sales tip. And we've had this question for years. I actually used to ask this question all the time. And it's a question that mortgage brokers have been trying to figure out for what seems to be a decade. What would Todd Bitter do? And today we're gonna get the answer. Todd, how you doing, my friend?
Good to see you guys.
Yes, sir, thank you. Todd, what are we cooking today?
We're cooking enchiladas, which are like a beefy, cheesy enchilada, and these are kind of fixings. And it's a simple meal that I cook about once a month for us, and makes about 3 or 4 nights of dinner for me and Evie, since it's just the two of us here.
So nice and easy,
Nice and easy.
nice little snack,
Yeah,
tastes delicious.
yeah.
Can't go wrong with enchiladas.
You really can't.
So Todd, we want to learn a lot about you today. I think you've been a mystery to a lot of people for years. And it's funny because what people confuse, they confuse focus a lot of times with like, oh, is that person standoffish? And it's funny with you, I used to hear that with people. We're not sure with Todd. I reached out to you many years ago before I was up and coming into this space, and right away you replied to me. And you said, the first time you said, hey John, right now I'm too busy with what I have going on, but text me again in like 30 days or so, and let me see if I can do it. Yeah. 30 days passed, I hit you up again, and then you took the meeting with me. And I said, wait, this guy is not standoffish at all. He just seems really busy.
Yeah.
Have you always been able to allocate your time to focus? And has it always been easy for you to tell others no if they're not aligned with your focus?
I think I suffer from saying yes too much, actually.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
I do. I have to really compartmentalize and say, okay, these are the things I'm focused on. When I have capacity, I'll work in those yeses. But I do find I've gotten better at that now that I'm at a large company instead of being a singular guy. But when I was a singular guy, I was getting to where I was like getting 5 to 6 requests a week. And they'd be like, hey, I just need 15 minutes of your time. But 15 minutes always turns into an hour or 2, So I've really gotten better at that over the years.
You know, you just said, I didn't even think about what you just said. And it's really fascinating with you. You were a small shop, obviously, with the way you're bringing in business. You were doing $100+ million a year pretty consistently, I think is a fair statement. And then you transition now into the larger company you're at now, which is UMortgage. Can you talk to the group and be as as upfront as possible about what were some of the challenges early on, and then also now I feel like it's helping you grow. And that's what you mentioned. How has that helped you grow into the person you are right now?
Yeah, I think when I was a small independent broker, it was just me and another guy. We shared a license. I worked out of my house, right? Averaging 30 loans a month, 100 million a year. You know, I always like to say, look at my 2019 numbers, because 20 and 21, sorry guys, if you had big numbers there, they don't count. Everybody could do it.
Yikes.
You know, 2019, you know, I closed 276 loans for 89 million or something. Didn't quite hit 100, but hey, it was 19. I found that I was a control freak back then. If I had just learned to let go and trust people to be my support staff, I would have closed 1,000 loans a month probably. I had more business than I could take on. I was giving away all my FHA, all my VA, all my non-QM. I literally, for the last 8 years of my origination career, only did clean conventional and occasionally a jumbo. Nothing else. Everything else went to other guys. And because I was at capacity. A single guy working out of his house, you can't do over 30 loans a month. And even then I had no life. But if I trusted people, oh, I would have probably, you know, I would have been 800-900 loans a year.
You know, you actually taught me this. So when I started, I said, I'm going to self-process because I need to learn everything. I came from the retail channel and we didn't handle any of that, right? All that was done on the back end. So coming into this space, let me learn. And when I talked to you at first, you would say, yeah, I process at night. I said, what? You're like, yeah, so in the morning, this is what I do. I'm front end focused. And then when nobody calls me from like 7 to midnight, I'm usually processing. I said, 7 to midnight? You said, yeah. And your voice was just like, this matter of fact. And I started doing it. And so I said, okay, let me figure it out. And you're right, it works. But the problem is there's still capacity even at that scale. Loan officers. I'm going to say loan officers. I'm not even going to say mortgage brokers. Loan officers in general. $100 million producer year in and year out. He literally just said that he was at capacity, doing as much business as he was doing. He was also self-processing his own loans. So for those out there that are afraid to let go, because all of us salespeople are, we're all type A, by the way. I've talked to thousands of LOs, and guess what? Apparently, none of us like to let go of control. Apparently, we think that nobody else can do the job as good as we can. I thought that too. The truth is, you have to sit down and have a lot of difficult conversations and be willing to work with the other person. So even if you're not at a large company, it doesn't matter. There's opportunities for you, such as third-party processing companies, which AIME is all about. Really pushing that and helping you grow and scale your business. Stop complaining about third-party processing if it doesn't work well the first time on one loan. It's a conversation that you must keep having to build and develop. Excuse my passion, Todd.
No, it's true. I mean, I became this almost, I hate to say it because I'm the least egotistical guy you guys will ever meet. Like, I'm very like, I don't like all that praise and stuff, but I was probably this mythological creature in the business, because people are like, I don't believe that he's doing 30 loans a month or 100 million a year. And he literally doesn't have an LOA, he doesn't have a processor. He works off of a 15.6 inch, $499 Dell laptop. I thought it was fancy. I had a wireless mouse. I didn't even have an external keyboard or monitor at that time. And I was just an idiot that thought this is how you do it. And I just couldn't let go. I have control. I've learned to deal with it, but the older I've gotten, the more I've trusted people. And yeah, if you want to do it my way, don't do it that way. Do it that way till you get to about 10 loans a month. Then hire somebody, because I would have made triple the amount of income I made if I just had given up some control.
And
that's it.
Listen, y'all, I'm in his house. If he had made triple, this thing is gorgeous. I don't know what else he'd have done with that extra money, but seriously.
I'd be retired right now on these.
But I get your point. I think that's a really big deal, is honing into that. And you said it best. Like, you actually gave context. You said, hey, at 10 loans, that's a good framework for you to start and take a look at it. Now, starting with here, where do we start with this enchilada dish?
Yeah, so we start with the beef. We get really lean ground beef. This is like 93 lean. You know, anything more than that, you're gonna have too much grease and it's kind of gross. But we start with that, and we have to get it into the pan and start browning it. So that's the next step, or the first step, I should say.
All right, you're good.
Just get the heat on. Wrong burner. I'm used to cooking on that side. And from here, we just, get it chopped up so we can get it brown.
Okay. You're good with it? Yeah, just fine. Okay. Todd, I know we're waiting on this to brown up, but you and I were talking a little off camera here, and You talked about being prepared before the boom happens. Everyone's been waiting for the refi boom, and I don't really care, right? We don't know when it's coming. But you said it best. We were so busy during COVID years where if you were at a place where you couldn't bring on people, it was so hard because you were so busy. So how do you prep to get ready without, spending so much money for some of the smaller shops or even the larger shops?
Yeah. I think you have to identify what that number is where you're going to need help. And you need to identify it early. Like for me, I think when I got the 10 loans a month, I needed help. But I didn't identify that before I got there. I realized around around 2015 or 16, I was doing about 10, 11 loans a month. And at that point, I was like, okay, I got to hire somebody. But then I put it off. I thought, well, maybe it's going to get a little worse. Let me just put it off and make sure that I'm not down to 5 to 7 loans a month, because this was also, we're heading into 16 presidential election year. And I was just scared. I didn't want to hire somebody just to lay them off situation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Problem was by the time we got to the point to where I knew I wasn't going to go below 10, I was at 15 or 16 loans a month. At that point, I knew I needed them, but I didn't have time. How do I stop at 15? How do I do 16, 15, 16 loans a month and bring somebody in, interview, hire, train them my way? I looked at it, I was like, okay, I just got to do it myself because the business is going to drop off at some point. I kept telling myself, because I'd been through 07 and 08
Yes.
and 09. I'd also been through the 90s. I've been in business since 95. I knew there was these ups and downs, but what I should have known was by that point, all my business is basically purchases. I've got really loyal realtors. It's like, it's not going to drop off. Maybe it will, but it really wasn't. Next thing I know, I'm at 25 loans a month in 18 and 19. Then COVID hits. Now I'm at 30. I was like, I'm screwed. There's no way. I'd have to shut down for a whole month just to train and hire somebody. And you can't do it. I can't tell my realtors, hey, you know what? For a month, send all your business elsewhere because I'm too busy. They'll be like, you're too busy for me? On to the next,
They're not waiting for the next LO.
And honestly, that's how I got most of my realtors, because an LO kind of blew them off.
They did.
During my favorite months was between Thanksgiving and New Year's, because realtors are still working, but a lot of LOs they made their money throughout the year and they're just like on cruise control. A lot of them decide to take a couple weeks to go to Hawaii or wherever.
Go checked out.
They're checked out. I'm working every one of those listing agents, buyers agents, everybody, and I'm like, I'm killing it during these months. I had really big Januaries. January 2020, I did 31 loans. January, and it's because everybody that was checked out at the end of 2019, I picked up all their business and rolled it into a huge January 2020. Then COVID hit and everything seemed like it was going to come to a grinding halt. This house, we put a large non-refundable deposit down for these lots in this canyon. And March, when COVID really hit, I looked at my wife, I said, man, we just lost a lot of money because we're not gonna be able to close on this house. The whole business is shutting down, it's over. It'll come back. It will come back, I know it will, because I went through 08 and 09, but when will it come back? Who knew that 20 and 21 was gonna be the opposite and everything was gonna get better than it ever been? We didn't know that. At the time, it looked pretty bleak in March of 2020, but I was too busy. I could not hire at that point. And at that point, I was just on the hamster wheel, running as fast as I can, working 18-hour days, working 7 days a week,
Trying to catch the carrot that's never catchable.
Exactly.
Jim Rohn, motivational speaker, he passed away in 2013. But he says he has this thing as part of his personal development. He goes, it's all risky. Life is risky.
Yep.
You're gonna go through life worrying about risk all the time.
That's exactly it.
And then he says, what's the price for not taking risks? Like, what's the price you're willing to pay for not taking the risk, right? Like sitting in a corner, not doing anything, not getting outside of your comfort zone. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And now, I do want to talk a bit about COVID, but where are we at next with this? This looks like nice and brown.
Yeah, I just got to put the meat or the cheese and the sauce in here to get it going. So that'll just take a second here.
Perfect.
Throw some sauce in.
Okay. And then we're still audio. Let's read through.
Okay. Now we need to add in the cheese. And we're cheese lovers, so this is going to be what I call very seriously cheesy enchiladas. So throw most of a bag of cheese in there, and now it's just a matter of, mixing it up into a gooey mess that we then roll into the shells.
God, I gotta stop salivating every time I do this. This is not good, dude. My mouth waters every time we're doing these. I should eat before I come too, because this is embarrassing every time I'm here. It looks fantastic. Todd, while that's cooking, you said COVID, and I read an article, and it said that the mortgage industry, the real estate industry actually, it said real estate industry specifically, real estate agents, mortgages, that we are feeling the effects of COVID the way most of the world did, but we're feeling it right now.
That's a really good statement, because it was. The rest of the world during COVID was struggling to make ends meet. A lot of them were out of jobs, and we've seen that post-COVID from inflation that was created in COVID. And the business has been slow for the last couple of years.
So how do you help LO? You're coaching LOs nonstop, and I think one of the areas is you're really good at this. And I'm going to say this as eloquently as possible. And I lied. It's not going to be eloquent at all. I'm just going to be as honest as possible here, okay? LOs, the one thing that scares me is when they say, well, in 2020 and 2021, well, in 2020. So how do you get them out of that mindset today where they just still keep talking about the work they did in 2020, 2021? How do you say, stop? Like, here's where you're at. Look yourself in the mirror. Stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I've used this before a lot. For those of you that are old enough to watch Married with Children and Al Bundy, all he talked about was his 4-touchdown game. I'm like, go watch an Al Bundy episode of his 4-touchdown game that he's never getting back. He's trying to get back his glory years in high school. It's never coming back. COVID 2020, 2021, it isn't coming back. If it does come back, it means that, God forbid, we've got another absolute disaster worldwide on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing 2% interest rates again. That was a once in a lifetime thing. We hope, because if it comes back, it means that
Catastrophe.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we're in a nuclear war, or God knows what it could be. They don't need to be back. Rates I saw both Barry and Logan from Housing Wire, at the Housing Wire event back in Dallas, and they both talked about there's so much pent up demand. Once we get into a solid low 6s, or even maybe mid 6s, but we get near a 5 on a conventional loan, all hell's gonna break loose. There's so much pent up demand out there, just incredible demand out there, just waiting for people to buy houses. And also it's an affordability thing with interest rates that they've been in the 7s and 8s for the most part of the last 2.5 years. I mean, it's just a lot of first-time buyers couldn't buy, and it's going to take that little bit more dip in rates, and then a lot of those first-time buyers are going to come flooding back into the market, and it's going to be good. Will it be 2021 good? No, but will it be
2018,
2019?
Yep.
Like I said, I did a lot of business in 18 and 19. It was the best. If you said, hey, you can go back any time in your career, I'd want to go back to 18 and 19, because I was making really good money, but had a little bit of a life. 20 and 21, I didn't have any life. It was just printing money, putting it in the bank, which sounds great, but what good is it if you're stressed to the gills, you barely see your family, It wasn't worth it.
So we're back here. We got this nice and cheesy. We got the sauce going. It's nice and brown.
Cheesy, meaty goo is what I call it.
So now we're putting it together. Todd, it's funny, I got more to say about what you said before, but I don't want to go in there yet. I'm curious about a young, growing up, teenage Todd Bitter.
Okay.
I'd love to have you go back there a bit for us. Were you built the same way you are now, just very matter of fact, very straight to the point? Has that always been you, or did you slowly build your confidence into that human being growing up?
No, I think I really built it. Maybe not in my really young child years, but probably pre-teens. I got into motocross and BMX and everything, and that was like fired my competitive nature. And I was the only child, so I was kind of used to getting my way,
Yeah.
I didn't have to share anything, so I think that's where some of that control freak thing came from, because I was used to doing everything myself. I didn't have an older brother to teach me anything, or a younger sister or anything. But I got really into BMX, motocross, and skateboarding, and just what goes with that is just, it's an individual sport, So we played flag football, but I never played, organized football, little league baseball, but never took that past like 10 years old. So it was really about having that individual sport and just that fire, like, it's all on me. and how I do. Nobody else.
Yeah, so I have goosebumps because it is. You know, it's funny. I never thought about that because you're right. Doing a sport like that where it is just based off of you and your performance versus you need 4 other people, 10 other people, whatever the case might be, needing you to do something. That it is a different kind of drive where it's like you learn that it is a matter of effect, and then what you learn is. Here's what's crazy, right? Now you have a team and you realize that not everybody's built like Todd Bitter.
Exactly.
And the amount of times I used to say throughout my leadership career was, I wish people could just work like me. My mentor said to me, he goes, if we had 100 John Haddads, why do we need John Haddad? It took me years to learn that. Was that difficult for you to learn talking to people? Because I'm sure there's a lot of disconnect sometimes with people.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest. I was used to as a regular single loan officer out there doing a bunch of business. I was used to mentoring guys. Like you said, you called me up, asked me for something to help your guys, and I was used to doing that. But that's a whole different thing of just giving somebody outside your company an hour of your time to tell them how you do things. Right? That's mentoring, not coaching. But once I got to UMortgage and I had to learn how to actually be a team player, it was a little bit of an adjustment because I had to tell myself there's 200 plus LOs here at that time. They aren't me. I can't get mad if loan officer A is only capable of doing 3 or 4 loans a month. I have to teach him and help him get to 5 and then 6. And I have to be part of this larger group. And it's not just about me, it's about our coaches, internally and our CEO, Anthony, and other people. We have to work as a collective to bring these guys up. And that took a little bit of adjustment because to me, it was like, what do you mean bring up? Like, just make more calls, go see more realtors. It's not rocket science, just do it. But not everybody has that drive. And you have to show them how to attain that drive and how to get there. And that's a big factor with the way we track things inside our company now. We built out a system called Tempo, and it's all about tracking your sales activities. 100%, that's all it does.
Not to cut you off with what you just said, but I want to stop you at sales activity because this leads me up into my question.
Yeah.
While you're rolling these together, so now what are we doing here before I get into
We're
it?
dishing the combined cheese, sauce, and beef into the shells, right?
Perfect.
And then we're basically just rolling these things up, we just want to kind of roll them up and then we just simply stick them in the pan.
Nice and easy.
Very easy.
Todd, while you're making these, I said it to start this. Everybody, you are like a unicorn, right? You have been a mystery, and I feel like as a late one, I heard you talk on stage several years back, just learning a lot about your story and who you are, and you're really becoming more vulnerable, teaching people. Now, the version of you that was just dialing into the LO side, I feel like that was the age of like, what would Todd Bitter do? And that was the age of answer your damn phone, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And now I feel like where you're at is you're, I don't want to say going away from that brand because you answer your damn phone, but I felt like that was really for the loan officer side of you. Now you're in the leadership side of you. Where has your philosophy changed? Like, what is the new focus for you now coming into this space?
Again, it's wholly about sales activities and staying out of the weeds. Too many loan officers get wrapped up with all the noise. I mean, we recently had the announcement that FHFA is changing some things about some low down payment loans, Okay, that you can't do anything about it. I mean, maybe you lobby in Congress or DC, which is coming up, but today you can't do anything about it. So why do you care? Make 2 extra calls a day to maybe replace that one that you lost, And again, I think loan officers as a whole, especially the ones that are struggling right now, I bet you most of their struggles could go back to they focus too much on the outside noise. They're looking for reasons why they're not as successful.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. They're going, especially the ones that were successful in 20 and 21. They look at 20 and 21 and they're like, I closed, 150 loans those years, but now I'm only closing 35. And they're looking for excuses as to why when the excuse is in the mirror. I mean, you just have to adjust.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. The excuse is in the mirror. If you're not doing as much business today as you were a few years ago, it's not the market. It's not. Granted, the market matters. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but you control the sales activities you do. So in 20 and 21, maybe I only had to call on a lower number of realtors and work my database a little less because the loans were easier. It just means today I got to make twice as many calls to realtors. I got to work my database much harder because the business is harder, but you control that. You control your destiny in this business. Greatest thing about this industry is you can come into it with no college degree. Hell, I got a friend of mine that didn't even graduate high school that makes really good money. You don't need a financial background. You don't need anything. You need the drive to learn how to understand guidelines, but you need more than anything the will to win and just kick ass and make your calls. Do the sales activities. And you could go from making $35,000 a year as a Uber driver to making $350,000 a year next year just by sales activities.
This is, listen, I know the way Answer Your Damn Phone was built was just over time, and it was kind of gifted, given to you because of who you were. But the excuses in the mirror might be my favorite thing with you now, just to be upfront with you. That gave me goosebumps. I'm not saying that's the new thing. I'm simply saying that if you were to pick that, I do believe there's traction there. So we're finishing this up here. While you're finishing this up, sales activity, you said it. What does that mean, sales activity? So, I want you to look at it. Actually, you know what I want you to do? Let's finish this up, put this in, and let's talk about it, do a quick little sit down and talk about this while we wait.
It's going to take a few, and it's going to take about 15, 20 minutes in the oven anyway.
So we'll be right back. We're going to put these in the oven here, let them get going, and we will be right back here shortly with this beautiful enchiladas.
So we're going to finish these up before they go in the oven. I have to basically cover them in more enchilada sauce. So we just cover them up here, and then we're going to load them up with even more cheese because, I know people like to say you can never have enough bacon. I believe you can never have enough cheese. And that's all we do. We're going to just load these babies up with a ton of cheese, and then they're going to go in the oven for 18 minutes at 350 degrees. They're basically cooked. They're going in the oven just to kind of melt the cheese and kind of get everything kind of bubbly and together. So
perfect. All right, we're back inside. Time for the food.
Yeah, time to get the food out of the oven here.
All right, here you are, chef.
Make sure I don't burn my arms. I'm good about that. Bring it over here. And we are good.
Wow. Look
now
at that. We got a lot of cheese over here. It looks fantastic. So for those listening, all right, we have a team here that's coming with AIME. The most exciting part for everybody is everybody gets food at the end. So I can see in the back, y'all can't see, but everyone in the back's kind of looking like, that looks so good. I can't wait to try. So thank you, Todd, for doing that. We appreciate you feeding us as well over here.
Yeah. So now, just, usually we wait about 15 minutes or so to let these sit just so they firm up a little bit. So they might be a little sloppy, but it's okay.
Don't even worry about it. It's an enchilada.
Yeah.
That's how they're supposed to be.
It rolled over on us, but
Don't worry.
yeah, it's not the prettiest, sorry. There we go. Cheese dripping off the edge of it.
Todd, look at me. I'm not an aesthetics kind of guy. I'm just an eat kind of guy, all right?
There we go.
I'm a big boy. None for the team. Just kidding. We're having our bite.
Yes. We're having our bite.
All right.
Forks.
I swear to you, though, my trainer's going to kill me. He's absolutely going to kill me. Here we go.
And they are cheesy.
You have to have them. There's nothing else to say.
And if you want, there's lettuce, tomatoes, jalapenos, and sour cream.
You guys are going to love these. It's so warm. I needed it so bad. It's just comforting. It feels good. Now I'm excited. Todd, this was fantastic, my friend.
It looks like a mess because it got too messy with not sitting, but it's, yeah.
Hey,
You know what they would look like if they were firm, so.
Todd, this is thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for letting us into your home. Thank you for being an amazing human being. Thank you for being just open about everything. And more importantly, thank you for letting us learn about your mindset. I think a lot of what life is perspective. And sometimes you learn about perspective a little too late. So when we get to hear stuff like this about your journey, I'm really hoping it helps people learn perspective just a little sooner. So thank you for this beautiful place that we're allowed into. Thank you, Evie, for the welcoming. Thank you for the sign. And thank you for being wonderful.
Yeah,
God bless.
Always, always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, y'all. Until next time.